The Miami Heat have another chance to add a franchise-altering player to its long list of players who have already helped bring championships, already helped bring MVPs, bring such iconic moments. This player is someone we've heard about in the past. It is someone that we have speculated, have prayed for in some cases, and we feel like it's finally time to revisit this conversation. But before we do that, let's make sure we're hitting the subscribe button. Let's make sure that once that player does join the Heat family, we are all able here at Digest Family for the Miami Heat to welcome him with open arms as he helps us capture another championship in the association. This player, again, someone we've talked about in the past, someone we feel like could really just fit seamlessly, transition effortlessly with the Miami Heat culture, its fan base, its players, its regime. It, of course, is Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo has listed his preferred trade destinations of Miami Heat and Brooklyn Nets. The quote exactly, a third executive from an Eastern Conference team said they have heard Antetokounmpo's preferred trade destination would be the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Heat and the Nets, two different teams. Teams that, in the Heat's case, trying to make a dark horse push to the NBA championship, trying to position themselves through the regular season and the postseason to best benefit themselves when that time comes. Brooklyn Nets, rebuild mode right now, trying to build through the draft, trying to build through young players, developing these young players and seeing what they have in front of them. Don't really think that Giannis would fit with that. Considering if you're Milwaukee and you're going to trade with Brooklyn, you're going to gut the team. You're going to look for the Cam Johnsons, the Cam Thomases, everybody in picks to try and get off the Brooklyn Nets. And I don't think the Nets want to have to deal with what they've gone through in the past. For the Heat, it's a little bit different. This is, of course, round number 2, trying to do this with the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstake. And the reason that we are in round 2 is because of what was said at the beginning of this month by Giannis himself. Quote, yeah, if we don't win a championship, I might get traded. This is the job we live. This is the world we're living in. It's everybody. At any given moment, if you don't succeed, that might be it for us. If you don't do a good enough job, you're out. Again, strong words from Antetokounmpo, and if we're being honest here, if he is traded from Milwaukee, it's not going to be because the organization, the fan base turn on him. They feel like it's time to move in the direction. That just doesn't happen in the NBA. When you have a star like Giannis, when you have a star, the face of your franchise, arguably the best buck ever, you're not going to put him out the door unless he says so. The rumors we've heard, though, the fact that the Bucks are 1-3, the fact that Miami is 2-2 right now after that loss to the New York Knicks, the fact that Giannis has said multiple times he feels that this team has no identity, the fact that the aging is not really on Giannis' timeline. You've got an older Brook Lopez, an older Chris Middleton, a injury-prone Chris Middleton. Things just don't seem to be going right for the Bucks at this point. You can't help but wonder what if. What if the Miami Heat finally pull the trigger? The thing, though, is what will it take? What would it take for the Miami Heat to finally pull the trigger? Now, you guys know me. I like to get in the trade machine. I like to just cook up some things. Same thing as last time. I strictly focused on contracts. Now, I did put some type of basketball thought into this because when you guys see this, I'm sure you'll be a little confused. So just hear me out before you guys start coming for me in the comment section. This was the trade, and we'll go a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. It has to be a 3-team trade. I just don't see it being a 2-team straight-up Milwaukee, Miami, even if you throw all the picks in there. Again, the picks are something that we can talk about in future time. There definitely will be some picks sent to Milwaukee. I just don't think that they're going to let Giannis go out for something without trying to get something back in their future for the draft. I went with 3 teams. Miami, of course, Milwaukee, and I think Houston is a viable player in this, and this is the reason why. I'm sending Giannis to Miami, obviously. I'm sending Fred VanVleet to Milwaukee, and I'm sending Jimmy Butler to Houston. This is why. For Houston, I feel like they are on the cusp of possibly making a push for the playoffs. I think Jimmy can help them win some more games. I think he can help change that culture, or continue to change that culture, I should say, and Ime Udoka has already established. I think he will be benefit to a Jalen Green, to an Alperen Sengun. I think because you just drafted a Reed Shepherd, you can afford to move from a Fred VanVleet, who is going to be a viable commodity. I think he goes to Milwaukee. He helps the start of the rebuild. He did it with Houston. He was able to kind of lay the foundation as a established NBA vet, as an NBA champion with the Raptors. I think he could fit well with Milwaukee. Obviously, in this trade, I believe is the first of multiple for the Bucks. If Giannis is traded, here comes the tear down. Brooklyn's gone. Brook is gone. Middleton is gone. Everybody is gone. Bobby Portis is gone. It's going to be a bunch of young guys and kind of veterans who are going to help develop them. Miami's case, you move on from Jimmy Butler. I think it's the only way it works for the contract. It has to be Jimmy. If it's not Jimmy, I don't know what's going to happen. You put Giannis spot probably 4-5 with Bam. You have Khalil Ware to kind of back that up. You have Nikola Jovic still. Am I saying it can be as clean as this? Absolutely not. Again, there will be picks involved from both Houston and Miami, probably to Milwaukee. I would not be surprised if that's the case. I think there might be another player or two involved from either the Heat or the Rockets, especially with the Rockets case having a lot of young talent that they don't really know what to do with. You know, you have a Jalen Green, you have a Sengun, but you also have a Amen Thompson. You have players who you don't really know what you're going to get from on a night-to-night basis. You also have veterans like Dylan Brooks. He is a commodity right now in the NBA as well. For the defense, yes, he might have some other things going on with him, but at the end of the day, he is one of the best defenders in the association. He's gotten much better offensively, and that will always be something that teams look for. Miami right now, if they are to pull off this trade, it will be possibly gutting a little bit of the depth. Now, there is a lot of depth to be had, and I do have other trades that I did come up with. But the main thing I want to focus on for the next few seconds here, the million-dollar question, is it going to be Bam or Hero? Is it going to be a situation where we have to part with one or both of them? Me personally, if you had me to pick, I would go Tyler Hero. I think you can afford to move on from Tyler Hero. You just got a Terry Rozier. If you're able to pull this off, because let's say the Bucks don't like a Jimmy Butler, they don't like the timeline, they don't want to deal with his aging, his player option that's going to come up after this season, I think you can do this. I think you do a Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, again, you add picks in there if you're Miami. You do this. You keep Butler for at least one more season. Maybe you can even re-sign him on a cheaper deal now that you've proven to him that you're willing to stay in this championship window as long as you can. You pair him with the next big three in Miami Heat history: Giannis, Bam, Butler. You still have Terry Rozier. You still have Khalil Ware. You're off the bench, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. It's a really good team. Again, too good of a team. I feel like that's a 2K team that you can make, but I don't know if it's something that can happen in real life. But this is what I came up with. I like it. I'm not going to say it's the best trade in the world, but I'm not going to say it's the worst trade in the world. I do think the Bucks can look at it and say, okay, we're getting back a shooter in Duncan Robinson on the last year of his deal. You have a Tyler Hero who has a 3-year window to maybe prove that he's a better player, especially when he's given more opportunity, given more touches. Maybe he could become a player that you can flip in the future for some more capital from either the draft or young players. So there is an avenue here. And again, when you trade a Giannis Antetokounmpo, that is the first trade to fall. That is the first domino to fall for a team's rebuild, because you're not going to trade the role players around them, because you're only going to hurt the star's trade value once it's his time to be moved. So you got to trade Giannis first. I don't think it's something you rush into, similar to the Walker Kessler episode when I said it's something you keep in your back pocket. However, in this case, you do speed that clock up a little bit, because it is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it is somebody who, if you don't do it soon, things could definitely not work in either team's favor. If you wait too long, if you're Milwaukee, trade value goes down. If you wait too long, if you're Miami, maybe the trade is off the table completely. You got to play this by ear. You got to keep an ear to the ground if you're the Miami Heat or the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, things are not completely out of the realm of possibility again for these two teams. In the end, though, if it comes down to a Hero Bam situation, I firmly believe it is time to move on from Tyler Hero for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who agree with me. I personally would love to pair Bam with a Giannis in the front court. I really think that's awesome. I think that will work. I think you even are willing to move off of Nikola Jovic. The only players that I see are not tradable. They are not able to be traded, in my opinion, for the Miami Heat and the betterment of the franchise. Jaime Jaquez Jr., Khalil Ware. That is it. Those are the only players, and then Bam Adebayo, obviously, like I just mentioned. Those are the three players that I feel like should not be traded. Everybody else, for the right piece, should be tradable if that person does come across the table. If it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, you want to try and keep, you want to try and keep a Hero, Terry Rozier, a Butler, but if those are the players that are in conversation, you got to be open to it. That's all I'm saying. If you're not open to it, you're never going to get it done. Giannis, still plenty of time left on his contract, still hitting, just not really hitting his prime. I think he's due for a scenery change. I don't know if he's really going to stay in Milwaukee in the long term. Me personally, I think he is 1 foot out the door already. He's kind of had it already. You don't really see an NBA superstar kind of do a polite trade request, which is what he really did in October. Again, looking back at this quote on the screen here saying that he basically understands that, yes, while it is true, if you don't win a championship, you could be traded. You're not going to trade one of the best players in the association just because you don't win a championship 1 year. There is some pressure on Milwaukee. There is some pressure on Miami. Question is, which level of pressure will make that team crack first? Hopefully it is the Bucks, and the Miami Heat are able to pick up and be one of those teams that are circling right now around the Bucks. With that being said, let's make sure that we're hitting that subscribe button, sticking to the YouTube trend of trying to stay up with all the Miami Heat news that we have here on Heat Digest. With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next one.